Turns out the club, the people that were in the club, thought that he was faking being crippled and in a wheelchair with cerebral palsy.
He thought he was faking the CP.
Right, yeah. It was just his act. He ran around acting like he was crippled and stuff.
Right.
And,
like it's an accent or something.
Yeah, right.
Okay, all right.
Right,
okay.
yeah. He was crippled guy. He went up on stage and that's what he did. And afterwards, he was obviously in awe. We went back and we did the second show the next night, and he obviously crushed it.
Sure.
People that knew who he was were there, and the owner of the club came up to him. And this is probably the funniest thing I've ever seen. He walked up to him, and he shook his hand. He said, "Hey, congratulations." Chris looked at him like, "Are you serious? I've been doing this for 30 years. I've done shows for 5 different presidents. I've got over 50 TV appearances. Like, this was my up-and-coming event at an airport in a hotel in Williston, North Dakota." But, I look forward to hitting the road a little bit more this next coming year.
So are you going to do it as a headliner? Are you going to find a feature to go with you? Or what?
I got to say, there's a comic out there. His name is Sam Damaris. He's from Texas.
Okay.
One of the coolest things that I've ever seen, and I've adopted this attitude. I talked to him one time at Looney's. We were working together at Looney's down in Colorado Springs. And I asked him how he got his start and, where he is now. And he was so comfortable with featuring. He says, I headline every now and then. I've been doing this for about 10 years.
Sure.
He says, but my favorite spot is feature. Because, one, you're not the MC, which is the most work you have to do in a show, the less paid.
Right.
The least paid, I should say.
But a good tool to have in your arsenal.
Right.
Okay.
Being able to kill it in a 5-minute set or a 10-minute set.
To a cold audience.
Yeah, right, exactly. And he doesn't have to end the show and finish it so that it's, the final, the nail in the audience coffin. But, I actually look forward to featuring more often than I do trying to headline.
Well, for now, right?
Yes, for right now, until next month when, the booze wear off.
Right.
And I realize what I'm trying to do is become a stand-up comic. No, I'm just kidding.
Are you staying here all night? Are you pulling the all-nighter?
Oh, yeah.
Attaboy.
Oh, yeah. Josh already has my keys, yeah.
I got to work in the morning. I was going to try, and I wanted to, because the moose can drink. That's my thing. I wasn't born good-looking or smart or good at sports, but I can drink. Like, I'm pretty goddamn good at drinking beer. You know what I mean? So,
I was assuming that's why they gave you the name.
Moose?
Yeah.
No, Moose was actually a name I had the day I was born. I came out. Apparently, my hands have been the same size the whole time. And as soon as my uncle saw me, he's like, "He's as big as a fucking moose," and it stuck. It was actually Moosey. That was Moosey, not my family. So when I started comedy, I hate the name Larry. I just despise it. I don't know. I just never liked it.
Well, yeah, there's a guy that stole your name. You know that, right?
Who's that?
He goes by what's his last name? The cable guy.
Yeah. That fucker.
Right.
Try getting money out of him. Is he returning phone calls, Vince? No, I wouldn't call him. But do you like Larry the Cable Guy?
Not a huge fan. Not at all. As a matter of fact, we were talking about that earlier tonight.
Really?
How the Denver comedy scene and who's coming out of it and the specific styles of people and how Jeff Foxworthy and Larry the Cable Guy and mind you, very funny comics.
Right.
In their own right. And I'm not saying this in case Larry's listening, which is kind of weird.
I would hope he is, but I think we're safe.
But how they've branded their comedy and constricted it in a way where it meets the people's need.
Right.
And it's very safe, and it's very, I'm not going to say joke in a box, but I'm going to say it's very safe format.
Well, it's very basic material, Vince, but he delivers it. His delivery and his way he works it's pretty amazing.
I've said to my wife in the past, if I had an accent, I'd be funny as shit.
Yeah.
Everything that comes out of someone's mouth that has an accent.
Do yourself a favor. Go home and YouTube Dan Whitney.
Dan
Whitney. You ever heard of him?
Dan Whitney, yes. As a matter of fact.
We just talked about him. His name's Larry the Cable Guy.
Dan Whitney. Ah, yeah,
that's who he is before he's Larry the Cable Guy. And he's got the old 90s look. Vince, I'm 38. Are you pretty close to me in age?
Yeah, 37.
Okay. He's where the pants that came up here and they're skinny. Remember in the early 90s look?
Right.
That's the look he had. Like the preppy look from the 90s.
Yeah.
And it's just, the voice is there, but he's got this big pompadour hairdo, and it's just he didn't find the cable guy for a while, but his material it's pretty bad. I like him, okay, you know what I mean. But it's such basic material, but the way he works it, I give him props for that. You know
From
what I mean?
what I understand, he actually bought his act from somebody. The cable guy act. It was I can't remember the guy's name now. So
Actually,
that's basically a rumor.
Well, no, it is a rumor. I read his book. I tried to read his book, which is a horrible book. Whenever I buy I like to read comic bios. The thing that sucks, Vince, is he tried to do his comedy show in the book. I don't want to hear I can watch your show. I want to know about the comic, you know.
Right.
But basically, it was a character he did on a radio show. He called his Larry the Cable Guy, and then it just stuck, you know.
Yeah.
Get Her Done was something he said on the radio. Everybody laughed. He said, "Oh, well, I'll try this out some more." A couple $1 million later, he owns that fucking thing, and you know what I mean. And every time someone says "Get Her Done" on TV, old Larry the Cable Guy gets a new car, you know, the fucker. But I don't know. But that could be an indie comic. Like, do you like Mencia?
You know, it's funny. At one point, I did.
Me too.
It was right at the beginning, before I had any idea what writing material was.
Sure.
Saw the clip on YouTube about what's his name, the Ultimate Fighter,
Joe Rogan.
Joe Rogan
versus
Yep.
Mencia. Yeah, that's a crazy
Exactly.
clip. Is it the one where he's they're in the comedy store in L.A. and Rogan goes on with a microphone and it's an ugly. That's ugly all the way around, man. You know.
After I saw that, I started thinking about what is it to be original. I mean, because I'll admit this, Mencia's performance was fantastic. It roped people in.
I saw him live. Yeah.
It was a tremendous experience being able to see him.
Sure.
The fact that he stole so many jokes. I mean, joke writing.
Mortal sin for us.
Right. Joke writing is putting yourself on stage and showing people who you are.
Sure.
And to steal that from somebody, a lot of it's funny, especially in this Denver scene, because there's like 300-400 comics here in Denver that are just, some of them are open micers, blah blah blah, and you see some guys that they come in there they do an 8-minute out of a 10-minute set, which is only supposed to be 5 minutes because they have no idea what time is, but they do 7 minutes of just shit.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, they tell a joke that gets a huge laugh. And you're like, wait, excuse me, that one was obviously from somebody else.
Right. Because it didn't match anything that was said before. Okay.
If they didn't know that that should have been an indicator, but it was obviously from somebody else. There's a comic that, Joe Rogan starts out, I don't know if you ever heard his CDs, but his one album, he started with High as Giraffe Pussy right now. There's a comic that does that. And,
really?
Yeah, and I thought, you know what? A big fan of Joe Rogan, I understand. But that wasn't like, Joe, this is Joe. This is Joe on stage. They just, and I think I think it might be like that episode of Louis C.K. Do you ever see that? Do you ever watch the
I love it. I love the show.
Right.
Yeah. The new one.
Yeah.
Well, I watched all the old one too. Anyway.
Yeah, exactly, the new one. Where he confronted Dane Cook.
Yeah,
on the show.
He goes to the arena he's playing in. Yeah.
To ask for the tickets or whatever. Sure. And it was funny that the way he said it, very politically correct and very I don't know what the word is. I'm not that, whatever it is, but he says, I think you're just a machine that is absorbing all these things.
Right. And
any of these new guys that are familiar with comedy at all, of course they're going to have a characteristic or. But when it gets to the point of it's turning into a catchphrase situation, I kind of...
It's tough. I'll say this about Mencia, and who knows if the rumors are... they have proof, I guess, that he stole material.
Right.
The guy worked it well. Dane Cook, I'm not a big fan of Dane Cook's material, but the guy works his ass off. I respect that. I respect the work ethic in this because a lot of comics don't have work ethic. They just don't. You know what I mean? I've seen comics that are amazing. Just been amazing, but you see their work ethic. And I want to tell him, man, you put your nose to the grind, you're going to do things. You know what I mean? Because you need, it's, what do they say about show business? Show business is 3/4 business. That's what it is. So, with all those guys, it is what it is. So I haven't come across stealing material too much. I'm not. Are you somebody, if you hear a comic do something on stage and you think it's not stolen, but it's like, oh, hey, you might want to watch it. That's pretty close to so-and-so. Do you do that? Do you tell people?
Do I tell people?
Example, last night a good friend of mine was doing a show down here. He has a new joke. I know it's not stolen. It just came really close to a famous comics bit, and I don't know if he'd heard it yet. So I pulled him aside and said, "Hey, man, that's really close to so-and-so's bit." He goes, "Holy shit." He hasn't done it since. Like, or tonight he's not going to do it. Or, it happens. It happens.
Yes, it does. I'm friends with maybe 180 comics on Facebook right now.
Right.
There are maybe a dozen out of those comics that would be receptive to hearing, hey, somebody already did that.
Really?
I did try it with a comic once about a year ago, and I was doing some time on his stage at a show that he promoted, and I said, dude, that's ridiculous. That's like 3 jokes I've already heard from 3 different people.
Wow.
And he was like, fuck you, I write all my own material. And I was like, no, you don't. And
No, you don't.
of course, since then, I haven't worked in any of his rooms, except for an open mic that he put on. But anyway, let's see. Let's put it this way. Up until the last 6 months or 8 months, I've not been confident enough to tell somebody, hey, you fucked up.
Yeah.
I learned this. People coming off stage, there's a traditional, hey, great job, right?
Right.
I learned not to say that anymore. I learned to say something that actually Fonseca turned me on to, which was, hey, you look really good up there. That's about it.
What's the difference, if I might ask?
The difference is, if I came off stage and somebody told me, hey, you did great, man. That was a great set. I would think, oh, okay, that people receive that really well.
Right.
Even though people don't always receive my material very well.
Okay.
Because of the topics. Somebody telling me that I did, I looked really good up there. That's pretty ambiguous.
Yeah.
You can't. I have performed where I felt I looked like a comic and I performed like a comic and my material sucked. But still, I got the reaction from the crowd. Well, it doesn't mean that my material was good. It meant I put a really good show on.
Right.
Which is, like you said, a quarter of it is show.
Yeah.
Show
business is 3/4 business. Yeah.
Right. That quarter that's there, it really is an act. I know for a fact, if somebody came up to me and asked me, "Hey, excuse me, I think you may have picked that up along the way." Matter of fact, I had a joke like that. This is the craziest thing.
Okay.
I wrote a joke. This was about a year ago. I wrote a joke that said, it's the difference between being married and being single. I says, when you're single, you don't know who you're going to sleep with. When you're married, you know exactly who you're not going to sleep with that night.
Nice.
And there were a few other things. I was listening about 3 months ago to the comedy station.
Right.
And this comic that had been around for about 12, 14 years, whatever it was, did the joke almost verbatim. Now, I've come to understand this as parallel development. People have the same idea.
No, they're going to. Absolutely.
But the fact that it was word for word, it's not somebody that I've ever listened to, so I know it wasn't. But I know I've done it. I've developed jokes that sound like other comics. But the fact that I don't do it anymore means something, I think, about me. You asked if I could tell people that. Yes, nowadays, yes, I can.
Are you receptive to it when they tell you?
Oh, absolutely.
Me too. It haven't happened in a while, but yeah.
Yeah, if somebody says that, even if it sounded like something that somebody else has done, my wife is very good about that. She's she's a beautiful person, but she's very judgmental about my stand-up, which is kind of funny because she didn't used to be a big fan of stand-up. Until she met me, and then she was like, "Oh, that's cool. You're a stand-up comic." Well, now she's like judge and jury. If I go tell a joke, she'll tell me exactly what was wrong with it.
That's okay, though. Honesty is awesome in this business. You don't get a lot of it sometimes.
Absolutely. There's probably tonight. Like, okay, good example. Tonight, I did not have a highly comical set.
Okay.
I didn't do what I would call a crowd pleaser tonight. I had a point when I came here. I wanted to pay homage to the club. I wanted to tell people what they've done for me personally, and what it is that the club means to me.
Okay,
I accomplished that 100%. Not the funniest set, on stage.
Eh.
But it doesn't matter because by the time I was done, I got the look from the owner.